We're on.
All right, the time being 6:30 p.m., I'll call to order Tilton Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, February 26, 2019. I polled the board and everybody's comfortable reviewing the minutes of past meetings at the end so that we don't hold up people that have come to visit with us tonight. So the first thing on is, Barry, how do we explain this driveway?
Yeah, sure, thanks. The 27 Chestnut Street, I was approached about the possibility of relocating the driveway. It's currently on West Street at the far end of the property. Per our agreement, when you guys authorized me to issue driveway permits, it was understanding that if there were significant waivers required, that the planning board would be consulted. So that's what's happening right now. The applicant or the applicant wishes to create a garage in the structure, and Kevin and I both noted that that's well closer to the intersection than the 50-foot minimum which is required in the driveway regulations in subdivision. The regulation says no driveway will be permitted to be constructed within 50 feet of an intersecting street, and 100 feet is desirable. So this location is much closer than that. So we explained that it would need planning board approval. So these folks are here to discuss that. Per your recommendations, Chairman Tilton, I pulled up the property on the. I can pull that up now if you want.
Please.
Okay.
Maybe we can see it on Google what it looks like, because these are difficult.
So here we have, that's the house there, and so you see West Street, where that white car is sticking out, that is the location where it's the far side of the house, so it's on Chestnut Street. So on the front side of the house, on this right side, so basically right in that area, is where the garage would be exiting onto Chestnut Street. So in our estimation, it's less than, it is a relatively short distance from the intersection. Whereas and again, the existing is up West Street.
110 feet from the stop, from the white car.
Barry, can you get the top view?
It's not very good. It zooms way out. I can do that. I could also, if you wish, kind of move around to the front of the building.
You can see it. If you have this, Judy. That's where the garage is.
For some reason this thing's blocking here. Right, so see if I zoom out, it seems to go way out. It does seem to work a lot better on my desktop. There's usually an intermediate, but anyway. You can see I'm wiggling my arrow. There's the house there.
That's why it's trying to see from that.
Oh, sorry.
Thank
Thank you. Sorry, right there. So you can see it's right on the corner. So it's about there.
So where's the current one? Way up there.
Up in here.
Just a little stooge. Oh. Yeah, that's where the garage driveway is now.
You wouldn't even know it was Sunday with that house.
Right.
You didn't know. Oh, thank you. That's Thank you, Larry.
No, thanks.
Did you guys wish to present, say anything?
Well, the garage up on top, it's probably been there 100 years. I got pictures of the bank and everything in the garage has to be ripped down. And it has water short. If you look at the property, that's the roots from the backside of the garage. The bank's washing out in the garage. So in order to backfill it, you'd have to get the water. I mean, the bank goes right down to the river. So now you got shoreline wetland protection.
So, can you give us?
That's the
what you're
picture.
looking at?
That's the picture. There's the house right there, and that's the garage up here. So when you want to go to your house, you'd have to walk 110 feet down this road. There's no sidewalk. And it's steep. And this one over
I didn't
here,
realize how steep it was till I see the picture.
yeah, this is the back side of the garage where it's washing out, and it's right on the west side of the garage where everything's washing down the bank. In order to use this, I mean, the foundation on it right now is butting the property. So in order, you can't put a floating slab in, you'd have to put a foundation in. You meet the code, you have to be, I don't know if it's 20 feet from the boundary lines. So actually, the foundation would be 20 feet in the air to get the garage, to keep the garage and the parking lot property. Huh?
I don't think you used it.
No, they're parking, what's happening is I took pictures and stuff. They're parking on the side of the roads.
Yeah.
I'm handicapped, so I'm just looking for more accessibility to the property.
Catherine, did you want
I
to?
got purchase and sales,
I'm looking at.
but to use the property, you know, I
That's the,
mean,
behind the current.
you're parking like everybody else's property, you're parking on the corners. People are parking on the corners now.
Is an issue.
So we're proposing a garage door that we wouldn't close it, we'd pull right into, so we don't have to park anywhere on the street.
Especially on that corner.
There's no room on the other side at all. I know there's a car that parks there all the
The
time.
stream busts the property and it's,
Yeah.
even if it was,
Big culvert.
even if it was a bare lot and I wanted to build, it's not even a conforming lot because you'd have to show my protection saying you have to be so many feet.
And why wouldn't you take down the existing garage and?
It has to come down because it's ready to come down, but you can't put another garage up there, you can't put a slab up there. What's happening now, the slab's been up there, and everything's so far eroded, everything washed down the hill, so. The laws today, I mean, if I went to backfill to put something in there, every 3 feet you go out, you have to drop down a foot. If I went out 3 feet, it drops down to 3 feet. So if you go out 20 feet, it drops down.
So this is on a block foundation.
It's on a slab, that's on the,
Okay,
the
but I
blocks
see-
are built on the slab.
I see block. And why is it you couldn't put a foundation there?
What's that?
And why couldn't you put a concrete foundation there?
You'd have to dig along the people's properties, 5 feet off the house,
Offset adjacent.
off the adjacent property, so you couldn't scrape.
Do we have that boundary? Do we have that, anything showing
I do.
the location of the house and the feet away from the
Catherine.
abutting property?
Pardon me.
Pardon me.
Sorry. Just to make sure. That's the garage. That's my house in storage.
That's the house.
Send those to Jean.
Sorry, I just pulled it up.
That's fine, yeah.
That's the garage. That's the house. I don't know where the property line is, but
That's close. And it couldn't go this way?
I don't know that. I just pointed, you asked to see where it was in relation to the house. I'm
Yeah,
showing.
thank you, that's huge.
Yeah, I just thought it'd come up. There we go.
The corner of that garage is 110 feet off the road.
And the garage couldn't
And
go,
that driveway right there is 110 feet to the bottom of the corner of the road.
okay, that garage couldn't go to the west?
That's a drop off.
Okay,
Everything's falling off the side of it.
well, the brook is down behind the back.
The block is sitting on the pad.
Okay, so, but it would be possible to put a foundation in.
It's not possible. You'd have to bring in 20 loads, and you'd have to have shoreline
You can
protection.
see that one from these pictures that we passed around.
Yeah, but I don't see where the, is there anything that shows the wetland delineation there?
That's concerned.
Yeah, we don't have any lot lines.
bottom of the property where it goes down, goes right to the street.
It's a brook, it's a real brook.
It's a difficult situation.
Huh?
Well, I mean, to build where you'd like to build on, is on the side, correct?
You're not gonna build anything out,
What-
it's
what-
more into the house.
It's going,
You're taking one into the house?
I'm going through one side, I'm gonna block the foundation and fill it in. There's a lot of water that goes through the foundation as it is, so this should stop the water in the basement. I'm not building on the side, I'm just, the left side of the house is gonna have a 12-foot opening. I'm going inside the house, I'm not building it.
Okay.
You're gonna use partial part of the house as a
Yeah,
garage.
there's four feet of lawn that touches the town road.
Ah,
So everybody parks along, I mean, what I'm doing is, I'm just crossing the 4 feet of my
right.
lawn to get into the house that I'll be parking, I mean, people would be parking there. I guess COPD, it's a big grade, I mean, to get out and walk and stuff. I don't know
No
if it,
sidewalk and no access to the house, walking outside the elements, down that steep hill, with no sidewalk to the house. That would deter us from purchasing it if we can't pull in the home, the garage for his.
I mentioned to these guys, they'll put a driveway in the backside of the house, but it's still gonna
Too
be,
close to the
they
front.
just said it's just too much water coming in and washing it in
We'd
the
have to
back.
backfill so many roads and it would possibly interfere with that water.
I think it was the road agent,
Mhm.
he went down there, what he said, he the big cul-de-sac in there.
Well, not a cul-de-sac.
A culvert.
What they want to do is, you know, just,
But wherever the driveway,
Is there a problem
property
with them
is
doing
over
that?
on the road. So I'm not,
Site distance there.
I'm not changing nothing with the water.
yeah. So how much of a waiver is it?
It's just an old building, so it's just a non-conforming.
It's actually condemnable in my opinion, when you go in the home, you can't live in it, the water's all broken.
Everywhere?
And it's all rat infested, there's rat feces everywhere all over the home, it's basically a tear down. We're just gonna improve it and improve the neighborhood.
Oh,
Probably about 70% of it's gonna be redone, the roof, framing, structural, plumbing, electrical, heating.
It's abandoned right now.
so it's a whole redesign.
What's that?
Wow, it's a big redesign that you're doing.
That's basically,
A remodel.
Yeah.
we renting a house, we're renting an apartment right beside it. We looked out,
Found it.
we looked out and checked out, and we seen an old man shut it down.
It lived in it over a year ago. It was just abandoned basically.
Yep. Heating system went out in October, he just left. That was Mr. Block.
And he owns it.
And his brother.
when he was. It's a low impact corner, I mean, if there's 15 cars that come down that street, I mean, it's not a,
Done a busy.
it's not a busy corner, I mean, it's a very,
Yeah.
It's a busy road.
Chestnut's a very busy road.
it's not- I'm talking West Street.
He's talking west.
But you're gonna be pulling out onto Chestnut. Am I correct?
Yep. Everybody parks, I'll be parked right before.
And you have to pull out quite a ways on Chestnut. You're actually in the lane before you can take the left. Out of out of West. Because of where the house is.
Anybody have any more questions, conversation? What does everybody think?
I have enough information to show you hardship
If you
there.
set the house back farther on the lot, you still couldn't get it right. That's 50 feet.
That was my concern, the delineation of
Yeah,
the
there's
wetlands.
limits, so I don't know where they are. It's really too close to that intersection for a driveway. I mean, we put 50 feet the ordinance, and the state has more than 50 feet from an intersection for safety reasons.
So do you have plans drawn up with this
We
design?
built multiple homes, so it's going by the
I'm
foundation.
I'm going, this
I'm
is,
just, because I can't, I need to.
I'm trying to
see,
do, before I go any, I need to know if the driveway's possible.
Oh.
Not so much a driveway as a garage door, and you're not gonna actually park in it.
It's probably about $6,000 to do the garage. I hate to lose living space for a garage, but you can only put the garage in.
Right.
It's about $6,000 to put the pad, build the interior wall, fill it in.
You know, one of the problems is the house is so close to the road. So when you're going in and out of the garage, you have to, by the time you're all the way out of the garage, you're in the road. So unless you
Yeah.
back into that
It's not-
garage every
If
time.
it was a bare lot, it would be a conforming lot to today's specs. I mean, this is 100, the house been there 100 years. I could put the windows close to the top.
But then, that's not, regardless of how old the house is or how long it's been there, as I said, because it's so close to the road, it is what it is. You'd be in the road by the time you're even out of the garage. And unless you backed in every single time, that would be dangerous. I mean, would you have a flagger out there to get yourself out of the garage and into the road? And I'm not being facetious.
Where people are parking down, they're all parking at the corners.
Well, we're talking
Halfway-
about this
halfway the road.
particular lot and this particular situation, not what everybody else is doing in town. Only talking about this lot.
I wouldn't be comfortable with it, but it's up to what everybody thinks. I'm not,
Would you be paving between the edge of the road and the house?
It's 4 feet.
I understand that, but are you gonna pave it, or are you gonna?
Pave it to the sidewalk.
So our application requires an apron, does it not, Peg?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I believe so. Like
I confuse it with the states. I know
as
the
far
states
as,
does.
yeah, I think it requires something to keep the edge of the road from being damaged, usually an apron, yeah.
Because he'd also, so the other issue is, he would need permission, probably from the Board of Selectmen, to put a driveway over the sidewalk, the town sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
No, right. Yeah, it's just, without a drawing, it doesn't seem safe from this, from what I can see. It's hard to see, maybe there's some sort of weird engineering thing that we could do something, but I don't, it doesn't, yeah, like she was saying, you're gonna be driving over.
It's just, it's such a busy road.
so do you need a motion or vote? Or what
It
do
might
you-
be a good way to finalize it, yeah.
Does anyone wish to
Yeah.
make a motion?
Is there an application?
No, it's, as far as the driveway permit application, I think we're at this point, we were just talking locations. So we don't actually have, I don't believe we have an application at this point. Is that
So we
right?
don't have an
So I can't have a
application
motion.
to deny or approve.
Well, we can't put an application until we own the home, and we're not gonna finalize. the
Yeah,
process
so,
until-
I mean, I guess this in some ways could be considered conceptual. I think, as I mentioned in the beginning, the reason we're here is that Kevin and I, neither of us are going to waive, or even offer to waive, or say that we could waive something without consulting you guys.
So we can't
So
really
what
make
would
a
the
motion.
motion be?
I guess, I
A
mean-
motion not
We
to
don't
waive
have
the 50-foot distance from the intersection?
I guess so. The other, I suppose you could do not, Chairman told me sorry, I can't talk. Chairman Tilton asked me if we should do a motion, and my first reaction was, yeah, it makes sense to finalize it, but I think if you guys are clearly on the record saying, no, this is not
Because we
something
don't have
we
anything to
would
make a
be,
motion on.
that's sufficient too, I think.
Unless we made one that we wouldn't waive.
Right, something like that, yeah.
Like you said, I think it's conceptual.
So a motion to not waive the 50-foot at this location?
Sure,
50-foot distance from the intersection?
Yeah.
yeah, that works.
Did you make the motion, Ken?
I guess so.
And I'll second it.
That was awkward.
All right,
Sorry.
is there any other discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we will not waive that 50-foot.
Have a good night.
All right, next we have a conceptual on a solar farm. Solar array, I guess.
Solar farm?
Solar array. Solar array. Farm sounds fun. Did you not get the email? I just,
I haven't had time.
oh, there was an email that went
I
out
was
with
pictures
pictures.
of being a health officer.
So that'll do
It
too.
was quite a week and week.
So figure it out.
In fact, it's a-
No, that's kind of too bad.
The conceptual is a part of it. Because you can't site plan them.
That's ready? Yes.
Sorry.
I know, but it's just not right.
Well, there's too many things that you don't have very enough information on. It's equity.
And my other thought,
But I just put that foundation.
other than,
Are these the same?
They look very similar.
Oh, they do.
If you flip them over, you'll see the difference in location. Explain that as well.
in future.
Okay, nice. It would be, yeah, nice to take it down.
My name is Tessa Shute. I'm the energy fellow for climate justice at Vermont Hospital. And we worked on a project last year in Lebanon to bring a solar array to a low-income community in Lebanon called Muskoma Meadows. And it's based on grant funding from the state under SB 129 legislation that is 15% of the renewable energy fund is dedicated to low moderate income projects. And the grant funding is awarded through a request for proposal process. And the law school's mission is around, part of our mission in my position is funded to help communities that wouldn't otherwise have access to solar get access, and to make sure that as much of the benefit, the monetary and environmental benefit as possible goes to the community themselves instead of to an investor or something like that. So that's the work that the law school does, and we do that through an energy clinic. And I have one of my students here today that'll describe the two projects. So really, we're here for under a conceptual review for two primary reasons. One is to get your feedback on each of the projects and to find out if you have any concerns that we should be aware of, and also to get a general sense of the project. It would assist in the application for the grant funding to know that, if we were in compliance with submitting, the appropriate application, that
you know, it could be something very tentative that you don't necessarily see any concerns. And that's what we did in Lebanon. We did a conceptual review. They put on the record their, you know, support for the project with the caveats of appropriate applications, et cetera. And that was helpful in demonstrating to the Public Utility Commission that there was a site available to do the property. So it's just a part of that. The second piece is we want to understand the application process that you think this project should go through. We see it as an accessory use. So both of these projects are for residential-owned communities. We have board members from White Rock, 3 board members from the White Rock community here today. And so each of these projects goes on their land, and I'll let Dave speak about that. So after we describe the project a little bit, we can come back to the questions on process and what's appropriate.
Good evening. So my name is Dave Riley. I am a student at Vermont Law School. I'm in my second year. And yeah, I'm just going to jump right into a description of the project. So Jared's kind enough to get up a shot where we can actually look at the space for both projects, but we'll start with White Rock. So White Rock is exactly right there. So it's bordered on all sides by a roadway. There will be, if you look on the back of the sheet we handed you, roughly 3 rows, just right across the cleared space. That space has the wellhead for the cooperative, so they can't build any lots there. You know, there can be really no construction of actual buildings, so we thought it would be a perfect space for a solar array. The solar array, it's 90 kilowatts DC.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said wellhead?
Yes.
So the White Rock is not on Lockmere Water District?
Yes, it is.
It's just it's where I think the main line comes in. We have it's like a sewer cap on the top of it.
Okay.
And it's right on the first corner as you enter. It's like a green spot right near the 11.
Yep.
It's right there.
So if you...
It's not a well?
No.
No.
It's a junction of the water line?
Right. Yeah, that's
Okay.
where the
I'm
main
sorry.
line-
No. That's fine.
You kind of threw me there.
Yeah, no, I understandably. Sorry for the miscommunication there. So the array will be, the panels will be on steel racks that are mounted on poles driven into the ground. So one of the major issues we're looking at is what that constitutes as far as structures or use, in your opinion. But before we get into that, I can explain Gaslight's project as well. So Gaslight is just a little bit up the road right here. So that area was cleared away for development at one point, and the development fell through. So we're looking to put arrays in this portion right here. It's also right next to the road, so there's very little construction issues in terms of getting equipment there.
You're only going to put it on this side of Gaslight's entry and not on the other side?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the correct, yeah.
So where the mobile home sales used to be? Okay.
Right, yeah, that's an old lot. And on the Gaslight project, there will be some tree removal, not for where the solar panels go, but to reduce the shading that would occur on the solar panels.
And there's a lot line there for the abutter.
Yep,
Yep.
that's,
So your proposal to move trees, is it right up to the lot line?
effectively, yeah. It would still retain the view shed of the trees that exist on the lot, and
hard to see on your plan.
Yeah, sorry.
So you're clearing to the solid line furthest away. And the fence will be the other solid line.
Right. This is White Rock.
Gaslight.
Over at Gaslight, sorry.
So this is a little easier to see, sorry. This is where the picture comes from.
Tell, does it work? Oh.
Yeah, a lot easier when there's color.
So that answered my question. The fence will go all around the array?
Yeah, and we are
Thank you.
50% on the fence. In Muskoma, we don't use a fence. One of the reasons that we're considering a fence here is because of the proximity to the road and making sure the panels get protected. But one of the things that we noticed is that they've already planted a whole series of trees here, which protect the panels. And provide a view screen. So the decision on the fence will in some ways be up to the community. So when we get to that stage, we'll do, pictures with and without the fence, and they can decide whether or not they think it needs a fence based on that area.
It also could be a condition on the planning board to have a fence along Route 311.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess our major concerns, any concerns you might have about the project thus far, or any questions. Otherwise, we get into our questions regarding the process.
So this is going to supply electricity to the trailer parks?
Yes, the way that the group net metering works is that there's an interconnection with the utility, and then the electricity spins the meter backwards to the utility, and the community, the residential owned community gets paid for the electricity that's generated by it. So the electricity will go to, because of the way electrons work, right, the electricity is just going to flow to those homes because they're in the proximity, but technically the array will have its own meter, and so they'll be paid the retail rate under the net metering laws for New Hampshire for the solar that's produced from this
So they get the benefit of the
Correct.
solar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it 100% for them?
So there's so what we've done is last year we worked with the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund to find impact investors that were willing to take single-digit returns instead of the high teens to low 20s, which are typical of financing projects. And that enabled us to issue RFPs to get responses, and we work with an entity in Muskoma that brought those types of impact investors that would take the single-digit returns to the table. So we have nearly, the Gaslight project actually had a developer come in last year and attempt to get grant funding from the PUC and was unsuccessful in getting grant funding, and partly because their financing entity was taking too much of the cut. So the work that the law school has done over the last couple of years has found ways to get that down. So we have more than halved the cost on the Gaslight project that they would have paid last year. So what that means is that more of the benefit goes to the community. We still use the investors because there's the 30% federal tax credit, and the communities can't leverage that, but the investors can. So ultimately, the project costs less by having the investors than it would if the community just borrowed on their own, which they could do through the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. They could borrow straight out for it because the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund is willing to do that. but this reduces the cost enough to make it a better deal for them. And then in 5 years, they'll be able to purchase the array themselves. That's how long the investor has to own it, so that the tax credit doesn't get clawed back from the federal government.
And then starting from those 5 years, they would have that, instead of 2 of the 3 slices of the pie, they'd get the whole line.
Excellent.
So is any of this electricity going into the grid?
Yes. Yeah,
How is it going to get there?
So it would be interconnected, so there's actually a line that runs all the way along Route 3, and we've been talking to someone from Eversource. They're confident that the current line would be enough to support the energy generated there, for both projects too. And they would just be connected to that line with a transformer on one of the existing poles along Route 3.
So there's about...
They don't need 3-phase power lines to do that.
They do, but
It is 3-phase.
Yeah.
They have one right through
Through
there.
Route 3.
I know, we've tapped into it on our property.
So they are the existing ones.
yes.
Yeah, we couldn't do it if there wasn't 3-phase there.
Can you tell us about the glare,
Something on
since it's right by the highway? Do you have any information on
Glare.
the glare that will be, usually there's, I looked up some information on studies, and there's like some technical information on how reflective it is.
I think that that's information that we're better getting from the developer themselves. It's probably in the response to the RFP. And it's part of why the view screen of the vegetation along the roadside is really important. So it's not in this description, or you can see it on the White Rock side that there's vegetation along the roadside, but also on the Gaslight side, they've planted trees all along that road up to the Gaslight Road as part of the recent construction they did. So there's trees along that side as well. So I think that the question becomes, are the trees enough to prevent any glare questions, or does there need to be an additional fence to address the glare? And I think that's an important.
Yeah,
We're
obviously
not
that
open
would
to
be
the
a,
public yet. Thank you. I will get to
yeah,
that.
so
That would be one of
what
our-
kind of trees and what, you know, you can
So there
have some
actually
trees,
is
but.
White Rock?
Yes, I know, but we're not open to public yet.
Okay.
The board is asking questions right now.
Oh,
We will get to the public
Got
and
it.
ask them.
The White Rock array is also a bit lower than the road, so that should help with glare. Glare is it's tricky because it's a lot of geometry involved with the angle of the array and where the sun is and what angle the driver's at. So, yeah, like Krista said, it's going to be better for the developer, but with it being set lower down than the road, that should help.
Yeah, so that would be probably a big
Well,
one.
except
to
how
me.
tall are the arrays?
Uh,
From ground to the
About 10 feet.
2 feet?
10.
10 feet, so it actually brings the solar part closer to the road.
Yeah, but that could, with the
It's,
with
I
the
think it's
angles
gonna
of
depend on
reflection,
which
not be
direction
the
it's
problem.
tipped, right?
I mean, that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
The gaslight, I remember we had the proposal a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and I believe they used the town of Tilton to help them get a CDBG. Does that affect that grant at all? And does that leave the town of Tilton
No.
on a hook for
They've
it?
already used that grant.
They've done that.
Okay, no, I just didn't know if it left us liable for it.
No, that grant's been completed, it's done.
Yeah, so that's great feedback. We'll definitely make sure that the glare issue gets addressed, and we can get the angle pieces. I mean, the companies that we've used have done hundreds and hundreds of projects.
I'm sure it's a very common question.
Are these solar panels in a fixed position, or do they rotate with this?
I didn't hear the answer.
Fixed.
Fixed.
Well, like, there's a business further down Route 3 that had a panel that would turn for this one. So,
Yeah, they're not tracking, they're mounted on their racks and they stay right there.
And that's a conscious decision so that there are no moving parts. One of the things that we want to make sure of is, one, that it's low maintenance, both for, mostly for cost reasons, but also making sure they don't have a lot that needs to be done. And so because they're in a fixed position, there's nothing that can break. So they have a longer life that way.
And
Is
how
there-
long is that life?
So they're guaranteed up to, well, they're guaranteed up to 25 years. And then, because we've only just started to see how long they can go, 40 years is the like actual, you know, it's like warranty on your car goes maybe 10,000 miles, but it can go for, that's
So they,
they're warranted for 25 years, but up to 40.
And then they have a plan for, I guess they don't have a plan.
Decommission? Yeah, we work that into what we leave the community with afterwards, make sure that there's some, that funds are allocated for that towards the end of its generation so that they're ready to be decommissioned. But another option, since the steel racks and poles driven into the ground are still perfectly fine, they could elect to replace those panels 40 years from now. And who knows how cheap it will be.
Are there any structures, maintenance structures associated with these arrays?
no.
And who does the mowing, and what kind of ground cover, or how are you going to keep weeds down?
That's a good question. It's generally, how do we do it with Mascoma? It's
They mow in between. They can put their mowers in between the things, and you have to, generally they mow twice a year.
So it would be up to the association.
Mm-hmm. We also provide,
So, yeah, there are also options for landscaping with other kinds of plants that don't grow as high as grass, specifically pollinator-friendly plants. So that's been a big trend in solar development, is if you have things that are friendly to bees and, you know, hummingbirds and butterflies, it's a win-win for the environment. So we might look into that because then you don't have to mow.
and generally what we do is provide the option because it's a little bit more upfront cost, which can be rolled into the financing of the entire project. Even though the upfront cost is a little bit more, there's no maintenance because then they don't have to mow. So that's one of the decisions that we haven't brought to the community yet, but that we would bring to the community if it was able to get grant funding and you know, permitting and the contingencies for the project from that.
I like the bee-friendly plants, but I see here a picture of wasp nests that are being built inside the support structures, so I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
That would be hard to mow around, possibly, so, but they must have
Well, if you
plans for that.
planted something like myrtle or pachysandra or cotoneaster or something like that, you wouldn't have that issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If these are going to be lower than the road, than when the road salt coming down with the erosion.
So most of the tree cover, we're hoping would take care of that. And I think it's just white rock that would be a bit lower than the road. And gaslight is pretty level with the road.
well, salt spray.
So you're proposing
Salt spray.
trees on the White Rock property? There aren't any now. I mean, there's some shrubbery.
Yeah, so we would, if necessary, to take care of glare or anything like that, add into the financing some landscaping to grow taller shrubs to help with any glare issues or protect them from salt spray, anything like that.
How easy are they to break?
Not
I
very-
know about children and beer bottles being thrown from
sure.
cars.
Surprisingly difficult, actually. They tested it with
I've
like
seen the stop
a
signs.
golf ball, you know, driven from not too far away, and it did fine. So they're hardier than you'd think for being made out of a, kind of glassy, composition.
All right, and then, so you're still working on the pilot, that wasn't spelled out what it was, but I guess I could say.
Taxes,
Oh, okay.
so Tilton's property tax currently taxes solar, so we can't make the project work, from a financing position with, the property tax the way it is, so we're working on that issue. We actually, met with Jeannie Forrester earlier today and Darty.
So are we coming to
So-
the Board of Selectmen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, so that hasn't been done yet? Okay.
One of the things we wanted to see is where we were at with the permitting process, because we can incorporate in, a lot of this is for getting our response to the Public Utility Commission's RFP ready. So if a big aspect of that is how shovel-ready the project is, or just the project's feasibility. So we can say, we'll do this pending we get a pilot, and hopefully we get more information from that. But another aspect is how is it feasible permitting wise, and then where we're at in the permitting process. So that's why we're kind of trying to tackle all of those things at once.
Right, great, thank you.
Is this going to need an alteration of terrain permit from the state?
No,
Neither lot, well,
no.
Yeah. Because it's just poles being driven into the ground, it doesn't equate to the square footage, 10,000, if I remember correctly.
So there's also no change to
Yeah, we're not moving soil around.
the driven poles accommodate any variation in the terrain, so it doesn't have to be levelized.
So, and there also no need for concrete foundation or cement blocking or anything like that, so that can also
How
pose
are they
problems.
held into the ground for that concrete?
Driven in.
They're
Just a
just,
big pole driven into the ground every,
how far into the ground?
They go down about 6 to 8 feet.
yeah,
Oh, so they're pile driven.
yeah. That's the term I couldn't think of. Yeah, there we go, thank you.
Well, I was like, pile driven is different
Yeah.
than big stay, because you definitely hit hard band.
Yeah.
board, any other questions off the top of their heads? Now we'll open it to the public.
I'm always,
I just wanted to say, I know they have the solar arrays right next to 495 down in Mass, and they're right next to the highway. I know it's just a chain link fence around them, and I haven't ever seen solar there, and I've done all different types of
There's different types of solar,
different hours.
different reflectivities.
Yeah, I didn't see any from them.
So if it's the same one, then I guess it's a win-win.
Right, and I know at White Rock,
Yeah.
we are lower. We're about, I would say, 7 feet below the road.
Yeah.
And I know there's some shrubbery there. I know in the winter time and fall, there's no leaves on it, so it's a lot barer than it would be in the spring. But again, I think the biggest solar glare would be during the summer if there was any.
Well, that's probably when you'd want to kind of, I assume all the new ones are low reflectivity,
Yeah, I
but
would
that would
think
just
it'd
be
have
some of the
some kind of
information that we need before you,
Isn't that an oxygen?
know,
I
do
drove-
that, so.
I drove south in November. I drove from here to North Carolina,
Yeah.
and I used Google Maps, and they took me on all kinds of back roads, believe it or not. And I passed a lot of solar farms, and there was the sun was bright, and there was no glare whatsoever, so.
It's gonna depend on the direction of the tilt of these in relationship to the road.
Right, and the south facing.
Because south is not,
Just,
perpendicular to the road. It is a little more to the west, if you will.
yeah.
I would say generally, they're made to absorb the sun. Any reflection means that they produce less. So the engineers have a real incentive to make sure there's less glare.
Right.
But we'll get you more information.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's easy to prove.
So our primary question is, your concerns and your feedback. So I think we'll get more information on the glare and make sure that that's part of the application. Are there any other concerns that you have, or is this generally a project that you think that's good for the community and?
Personally, honestly, I don't know enough about it yet. I haven't had time to research it, so I don't know that, the answer
It
to that.
seems like it is. We just want to make sure it's safe
Sure.
for the highway.
Oh, of
Yeah, for
course.
sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a
Very
first
good.
concern.
Well, one of the questions
And good
is
for
the
the-
site plan amendment required?
Yeah, so that,
Oh, yes.
that's one of our,
I think that's clear.
Yeah, but they're asking, do we need an amendment or do we need?
I think the amendment might be a little misleading. I mean, I think their question, please correct me if I'm wrong, do we need to do site plan review, right?
Yeah, it
That's
says
the
full
big-
site plan amendment, so it's kind of an
Yeah,
oxymoron,
right.
because there's no such thing as a full site plan
yeah,
amendment.
yeah.
But I would say a full site plan is required.
Uh,
Could they do one site plan for both projects?
It's two separate properties, so how do you?
Yeah, that would be.
I don't know, I own two separate properties, if I was going
We
to
own
run a
them
business.
both.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's absolutely a no. I think
would
it's
be-
possible that they can do it.
It would just say,
Well, they're so close and the terrain is just about the same for both.
I mean, I don't really know, I'd have to open the book and read it. I suspected you would know more than I
I
did.
guess,
I think we would submit to in either event, because
Oh.
they have separate boards and there's separate ownership, and they would look pretty much identical.
they're
Right,
family.
with some modifications, it's not, that's not too bad. I think one of the main questions that we have around doing the site plan is when we look at some of the site plan requirements, they're based primarily around buildings. And so some of the questions aren't really applicable to the solar. And main question we have is, would it be okay to take the Tilton tax map, for the property to scale and put the solar array on it to scale, where the utility will be, the abutter information, the typical information that you would see on a map, and provide that for, like in the case of White Rock, that area where the solar array will go, sort of provide that for that array. And would that be sufficient for the site plan? So demonstrating where everything is gonna go, right? Whether there's a fence or vegetation in terms of glare and protection from the road, where the solar panel itself goes, versus having to hire an engineer that would somehow, identify where all the properties are in the whole White Rock circle. That's what we're trying to get away from.
So you're
is
talking
that
about
cost.
taking a tax map which would show the abutting properties
Right,
and
correct.
enlarging the map that's still showing the abutters?
Correct.
I don't see a
So,
problem with that. There's no structure involved with this, it's just the arrays.
exactly, so
So
on the
we're gonna be
checkbox-
more concerned with setbacks, boundary
Right,
lines.
yeah.
My only concern would be with White Rock would be the elevation, seeing an example of the elevation,
Yeah,
depending which way
the
they raise
terrains.
it.
Well, they can get those off for geographic.
Yeah, they don't need to
Fish
be
and
an
game.
engineer to do that.
Well, you need to get something, because if it's eye level and it's facing the road, it's gonna have glare. I'd want to be able to see that. I don't know which way. I'm thinking south is facing more this way, so I'm not overly concerned with it, but
If you had your back to Route 3 and you were looking at the lot, south would be to the right.
right, so if I'm coming
South
out of
is-
three, hitting.
yeah, I think,
This is south,
right, I think north is up. On this-
north is up.
With the, right there, that should tell you true north.
Yeah. So the Google map is set to true north right
So
now.
my concern would be on the White Rock, because it's 4 or 5 feet, where are those panels gonna sit really?
But they could get those elevations without an engineered drawing.
Oh, they can make adjustments with the pilings too.
The USGS maps, they're on the Fish and Game site.
That's my only concern. is
I want to see that too.
The glare
And we would, so I think that a good way to do that would be to provide the elevation of the,
Road.
right, the elevation of the panels relative to the road, if that's what you're
but
interested
if it was a cell phone tower, you just fly a balloon. You can't do that really weird.
in. Right.
That's a good point.
I only drive that road like 20 times a day, so that's why I asked that.
Sure.
And I drive there a lot too, but they can change the county code in 9 instead of 60.
Any other questions from the board?
Did we answer that question as well? Do they need an engineer drawing?
I don't think so.
I mean,
We can provide the
you
information.
can try it without one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Worst
You
case,
know,
we
worst
say
case
it's not
scenario.
enough info.
yeah.
You come back a couple of times.
Okay.
Do you know which company you're working with?
We have an RFP that was issued for Gaslight, and we have a tentative selection on that. When we approached White Rock, which was only about a week and a half ago, and we met with their board, and then they gathered a quorum of the community very quickly, which is a testament to their board. They voted to move forward, so we have issued the RFP for that. And what we're doing is asking for a Gaslight quote, a White Rock quote, and a quote that reduces the price if they're both done at exactly the same time. So we have not selected a vendor. The two vendors that are the two top options are both two of the top developers in the state. And one of them does a lot of, they both have done low moderate income work. They've both worked on, benefit projects. So we're confident that we have a good developer and that we have a good price and that it's been competitively bid. But we can't disclose anymore yet.
So this would be a savings for those two trailer parks.
Yes.
This will
For
mean,
electrical bills. And
yeah, this will probably mean about $25 a month in savings per home. And they'll receive that as a reduction on their lot rent. It could actually mean more than that. We're waiting for the final numbers to come in. But it could be, it'll probably be 25, it might be a little bit more. So it's
not shabby.
No, it's not shabby.
No?
I thought that was a home.
Each lot per month, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Well,
on the
with the
Gaslight
ROI.
project, it'll be about, at the Gaslight project, it should be about $9,000 a year, and on the White Rock project, because it's a smaller area, so it's a slightly smaller array, it'll probably be closer to 7. And then it'll depend on how many of their residents sign up for it. When in the project that we did in Lebanon, 45 of the 50 homes signed up for it. And the 5 that didn't sign up for it, one was a very old woman who just doesn't sign any papers at all. And there's nothing you can do about that. And a couple of them did not want to have anybody come into their home for energy efficiency work, and energy efficiency is an integral part of this project. Education and energy efficiency are part of this because it makes the solar go farther. So the investment that each individual resident makes is to commit to attending the energy efficiency, basically.
What street is it on?
It's Muskoma Meadows, and that's on 22 Rudsboro Road.
Does that efficiency include, would that include the heat loss and saving for heat, so they
Yeah,
would benefit in that as well.
yep. So the, what we did at Muskoma, we did an efficiency seminar for them over the summer during their annual meeting. And then in the fall, the utility pays to have somebody come in and change the lights, help with insulation, do water flow measures, and then just because of timing, they were backed up in terms of getting auditors in, so their auditors are going to come in this spring, and they'll go through. So I know that at least more than a half dozen of those homes are being given new appliances for free under this program. All of them got all of their lighting changed out. And then when they go in and do the home energy audits, that's when they'll do the blower door test to do the weatherization to see what they can do to tighten up the homes. So it's a, what?
They haven't installed it there yet, have they?
No, it's
They have,
installed there.
yeah, it went in December, so it's
Yeah.
probably not on the board.
I was trying to see what-
My home down there.
Just a curiosity question, what does a project like this cost?
$300,000. So it's $300,000 in Muskoma. We got a $168,000 grant. We'd expect to get about $150,000. Doesn't matter why we got 168. We put in a formula and said, if you have any extra money, this is how much will go back to the community for every other $1,000 you give us. So they give us their leftovers. But so the $150,000 buys that down, and then the federal tax credit helps buy down the rest. And that's how we're able to get it to a price where it actually brings meaningful money to the community.
Very nice.
Other questions?
And
Anybody?
that's about 300 for each project.
Yeah, 300 for Gaslight and 280 for White Rock Public.
Exciting.
Yeah,
All right, I think that's all we have.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On to the minutes of former meetings. So first, for some reason, we have October 13th.
Yeah, we're way behind.
Yeah. So November 13th. Has everyone had an opportunity to read over the minutes for?
Yes,
13th?
What's up? It's good, they're standard.
Are there any questions, deletions, corrections for the November 13th minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes of November 13th.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, December 26th minutes.
Approve the minutes of December 26th.
Second.
All those in, any more discussion? Apologies. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it. January 8th.
I think you could have used a smaller font with
Maybe.
the zoning amendment star.
I just hate to see that take more than one page just to put the agenda, get to the agenda.
Yeah.
It's age discrimination. I can read it though, I have new glasses. Make a motion to accept.
Oh, go ahead.
Question?
No, she's gonna make a motion anyway, I can do it in discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jane, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to accept them.
Oh.
January 22nd.
I thought we were on A.
Oh, I don't know why.
On January 8th. You're getting excited when you...
I don't know where.
No, you want these?
No, I must have them here somewhere.
Do we have a second?
No, I don't.
Shows the wrong date.
Hold on there.
One moment.
Wait a minute.
Oh, you weren't here.
Wasn't here.
I
That's
have
why
a question on the 8th. Let's wait for this one.
One for discussion. Catherine's got questions too.
Be that way.
I can't make a motion
No,
anyway.
did you make a motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of January 8th as written.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Put it up for discussion.
Discussion.
Yes.
Eric?
My question is, should the objection be, I thought you read something, should that be read into the minutes?
Oh my God, great minds think alike.
Yours, Deb?
Well, I was going to suggest, since it was a public hearing and we were taking input,
Yeah.
we should at least have a brief
Thanks.
idea. Good night, guys.
Thank you.
We should have a brief description of their objection, since we took it as input. Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
She did, Kathy did read.
I thought she read a letter or a statement, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, there was something read into the record.
Okay.
Because I guess I'd want to know 20 years from now what their objection was.
Correct. For 6 months from now.
Move the current.
Okay, so do you want me to redo that one and bring it back for you next time?
Yeah, that's probably
January
the
8th?
best way to do
Yeah.
it.
Well, there was more than one objection here.
We can fill them in.
What's that? I mean, so just give more detail, including all objections under the planning board workshop.
For the public hearing.
Okay. Public hearing, yeah. All right.
I have a question. On Amendment 5, so, number 5, there was a written comment provided by Jim Cropsey. Sorry, Mr. Cropsey. Should that written comment be provided as an addendum or at least somehow to the minutes?
No, that's already added into the record.
It's,
It's out of the record.
it says,
No, it's-
okay.
Record
It's
in the
in,
planning board file.
Yes, but it's not written into these,
It's not
These
written, this
minutes.
is the official record. of
these
that
are the
meeting.
official records.
but like when
Right
somebody
here.
sends a letter, it doesn't go into the minutes, does it?
Right.
It does in the Board of Selectmen.
No,
This
it's
was a
never been
public
in.
hearing, that's the difference.
The,
This wasn't a regular meeting.
so we had a letter from another gentleman. Are you saying you want those letters in the minutes?
I don't think it's
I don't think
appropriate
so.
to put them in the minutes.
I think
I think
some
we-
substance,
Right.
but I don't think the whole letter needs to be in
I
there.
mean, what I,
Because if you reference the letter in the minutes, then someone knows enough to go look for the
all right.
letter.
How about I just take the 8th and the 22nd back to the drawing board and just come back next time with more detail?
Keep them up.
All right.
But I don't think a letter should be in the minutes. Let's talk about that first. It should
Okay.
be,
No, what she said was
Reference.
if it's referenced, then
and it's in
just.
the file.
Okay. The gist of the letter, the main
Yeah.
points. Okay. All right.
And do we have any correspondence this evening?
No.
Any other business?
I have a question.
Yes.
We site planned the November 13th minutes. We finished the site plan process on the existing MV property where the store is, the facility.
The cold storage?
No.
Oh, yeah, right.
Have they submitted their stormwater operations and maintenance plan?
Yes.
Okay. So
And
they've met these 4 criteria?
yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. I have their plan right here to sign, if you guys wanted to do that tonight. So,
And they're complying with number 1, only new equipment shall be stored in unpaved areas.
I guess I can't say with 100%, I haven't done a recent check. I mean, I do see that as a condition subsequent that is intended to go obviously the life of the business.
I mean, just a periodic, I wouldn't,
Yeah,
it's not a daily drive-by, please.
but if you did want me to at least do an initial verification before you sign the plan, I could certainly do that.
I don't think we need to before we sign the plan. They have to get, so, and here's my next question. Since they were out of compliance, we site plan them, theoretically they're in compliance, do they get a new occupancy permit?
Oh, I think that we didn't actually pull their occupancy permit, and the building is not being changed, so I wouldn't say it's a definite, but we certainly could.
If they didn't comply.
Pull it, oh, yes, right, absolutely, yeah,
I just,
yeah.
thank you, I wanted to
Yeah.
make it clear. In my
Always,
mind.
always.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Eric, did you have something on that?
Yeah, it might explode up in space
Want
somewhere.
to reread it, see if your cloud comes back?
I'll second that.
Are we
So
gonna
maybe
be,
There's a little
working
hangnail.
on-
Well, I guess my comment was,
That goes to
if
council.
if that condition number one, yeah, you sign it tonight and it's there, doesn't mean you go by, drive by there next week, it's not gonna be there, you know, what do you
Right.
do?
Right, that's why I said
You got
periodic,
your eraser and erase your name off the
periodic check,
I don't know.
whatever that is,
visible.
reminders. I mean, I assume we do that with other businesses, not just this one,
Right,
for those kind of
right,
extenuating circumstances.
definitely.
Zoning for
Thank you.
Yeah.
problems with that. When is there like a kind of timeline for that?
I don't think so yet.
Should we talk about that? Talking about like cleaning up the master plan, the zoning, as far as all that.
Have we heard anything from the Anchorage people?
Issues, remember that?
Oh,
the initial and all
Do
that.
you guys want to set up a list of
No.
workshop dates?
What about the lot across from
Something
Lowe's?
About that,
Yes,
'cause that's all out of.
Yeah.
Well, I saw,
right?
coming back again, yeah, right.
be nice to have that
Lighting thing, yes.
Yeah.
be changed from a mud pile.
Yeah, exactly,
It's kind of an eyesore right now.
yeah.
And we do like we did
And actually
before,
look
just
at
set
when all the
dates,
cars
and those that
parked
can
on
make it, make it, and if you can't, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Right?
I know.
Catch it, or you can.
What's the next one?
Hmm?
I heard you say that.
Across from Lowe's.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all, it's just a big mud bog,
Frozen.
Yeah.
so
What is,
oh, with all the cars on
I
it, it
know.
look better than with them gone.
you're saying,
Yes.
you're asking
Yeah.
them to bring the cars back?
I'm not even touching it, I'm just saying. I'm just
Just
saying.
Also, by Rusty's old house.
Yeah,
And did
So-
we ever find out about all those statues and things, those metal things?
That's
On the
his, if
property
it's his
on the
lawn
corner.
ornaments.
Huh?
oh,
If it's
that's
his
a-
lawn ornament,
it's
he's
just
not-
decoration.
No, he's selling them, isn't he?
It was, but I don't think, I haven't seen any sales.
It'll just be nice
I haven't seen anything
if that
either.
piece gets developed.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought they were.
I thought we put them
Close it
down
up
in some
and look really
building,
nice.
empty
Yeah.
storefronts downtown. You could sell them.
Be a great
Anyway,
place
so-
for a Trader Joe's.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
So,
All those in favor?
Aye.
goes home.
No heavy sighing on them, just because you're older now.
Yeah, what it is this wind. I had my glasses rolled off my face twice, so now I take them off. And they don't
Don't
just,
get caught in your hair.
no,